What if Eloise Bridgerton, the most rebellious daughter of one of London's most powerful families, ran away with a printer's apprentice? What if she traded ballrooms for back alleys, corsets for second-hand muslin, and for a life that would destroy her family name forever? How would she even escape without a single servant noticing? And more terrifyingly, what would happen when the town found out? In this video, we are breaking down the single biggest scandal that never happened in Bridgerton but absolutely could have. We are talking about Eloise running away with Theo Sharp. In Bridgerton Season 2, Eloise Bridgerton becomes obsessed with one question: who is Lady Whistledown? She is trying to track the source. That search leads her somewhere she's never supposed to go: a print shop. That's where she meets Theo Sharp. At first, he's just someone who might have information. Theo doesn't treat her like a high society lady. He doesn't try to impress her or agree with everything she says. Instead, he challenges her, and Eloise keeps coming back. What starts as a simple investigation slowly turns into regular meetings. Each time their conversations go deeper. They start talking about ideas, education, class, and how society works. Theo introduces her to politics and writers she hasn't been exposed to before. Through him, she begins to see how different life outside of her world. These conversations with Theo matter to her in a way that dances and social events never have. But there's a problem. Eloise is part of the Bridgerton family. Theo is not part of that world at all. Even being seen in the same place could create questions. At the same time, her family is expecting her to fully participate in society, to attend events, meet suitors, and move toward marriage like everyone else. So Penelope wants her to not to visit Theo anymore because this could cause a scandal. And now she's stuck between two paths. On one side, her family, her responsibilities, and everything expected of her. On the other, Theo, her independence, and a completely different way of thinking about life. In the show, this tension forces Eloise to make a decision. She chooses to step back, she stops seeing Theo, but what if she didn't? What if after a few days she couldn't let it go? What if she realized that walking away from Theo meant going back to a life she never wanted? And instead of accepting that, she chose something else. Not sneaking around, not meeting in secret, but leaving entirely. Running away with Theo. That's where our what if begins. So, what happens next? Eloise has already made the decision. She is not going back to society. She is not returning to the life her family expects. Now she has to move. The timing matters. She can disappear during the day, too many servants, too many people watching the house. So she waits until late at night, when everything is quiet and routines are predictable. She doesn't pack much. That alone is a risk. If she carries a bag, it becomes obvious she is leaving. So she takes only what she can hide, some money if she has access to it, and a change of clothes under her cloak. She leaves through a side entrance, not the main door. Bridgerton House always has stuff nearby, but at night fewer people are moving around. She times it between when one servant has just left and another hasn't come in yet. Even then, it's risky. If anyone sees her, they will question it immediately. A young woman living alone at night is not normal. Once she is outside, the danger doesn't go away. London at night is quieter, but not empty. There are still carriage drivers, workers, and people who notice things. Eloise keeps moving, no hesitation, no stopping. She goes to Theo. He isn't expecting her. When she arrives, this becomes real for both of them at the same time. This is not a conversation anymore. It's a decision with consequences. They have to leave quickly. Staying in London is not an option. So they move. They either leave on foot to avoid attention or find transport that doesn't ask questions. Either way, they have to act fast before morning. And this is where the emotional shift hits. At first, it feels like freedom. Eloise has done something no one expected. She is in control for the first time, but that feeling doesn't last long. Because very quickly reality sets in. She is cut off from her family, from money, from protection. Everything familiar is gone. And Theo understands something Eloise is just starting to realize. This decision doesn't just affect them, it's going to affect everyone connected to her. Back at Bridgerton house, everything seems normal at first. Morning routines begin, servant move through the house, breakfast is prepared. Eloise not being present isn't unusual right away. She is known for keeping to herself. But then someone notices. A maid goes to her room. The bed hasn't been slept in properly. Something feels off. They check again. No response, no sign of her. Now it becomes a question. Where is Miss Bridgerton? The staff starts asking each other, did anyone see her leave? Did anyone hear anything? No one did. That's when the information reaches the family. At first, the confusion. Maybe she went out early, maybe she's visiting someone. But Eloise doesn't go out alone. And she wouldn't leave without telling anyone, not like this. They check the house, nothing. Now it turns into urgency. Anthony immediately understands what this means. This isn't a misunderstanding, this is a disappearance. And in their world, that is serious, very serious. Because if Eloise has run away, especially with someone outside their social class, the consequences are immediate. The household staff already knows something is wrong, and servants talk. Even if the family tries to keep it quiet, the information starts to leak. A missing daughter in one of the most well known families in London is not something that stays hidden. Word begins to spread. At first, it's small, quiet conversations, questions, then speculation starts. Where did she go? Who was she with? Why would she leave? And in Regency society, people don't wait for facts. They fill in the gaps themselves. That's where the real problem begins because a young unmarried woman leaving her home without supervision is already a scandal. But running away, possibly with a man, that's worse. It raises questions about her character, and once those questions start, they don't go away. Her reputation could be permanently damaged. And it's not just Eloise. The Bridgerton family's standing depends on reputation. If one daughter is involved in a scandal like this, it affects everyone. Her siblings, their marriages, their future, everything becomes unstable. Now the situation is not just personal, it's public. And as more people hear about it, the story grows. Details get exaggerated, assumptions turn into facts, and within days, the entire town is watching, talking, and judging. And at this point, it's clear this isn't just a mistake, this is the beginning of a full scandal. At first, it feels like freedom, but that feeling doesn't last long because once they're gone, really gone, the reality starts to set in. Eloise and Theo can't stay near London, it's too risky, so they move farther out, somewhere quieter, somewhere no one knows them. And that immediately creates a problem money. Eloise doesn't have independent access to her family's wealth. Whatever she brought with her is limited. Theo has some income, but it's not stable and it's nowhere near enough to support two people long term. So they have to be careful. They find a small place to stay. Nothing like what Eloise is used to. One room, basic furniture, no servants, no space for privacy. Everything is shared. For Theo, this is normal. For Eloise, it's not. At first, she tries to adjust. She tells herself this is what she wanted freedom from society, from expectations, from a life that felt controlled. But daily life is different from the idea of freedom. There are things she's never had to think about before food, expenses, how long their money will last. What happens if Theo can find consistent work? Theo feels that pressure immediately. He knows this situation is fragile, so he starts focusing on earning as much as he can, taking whatever work is available, even if it's long hours or long day. That changes things between them. Before, their time together was built on conversation, ideas, debates, curiosity. Now Theo is busy, tired, focused on practical survival, and Eloise is left alone more often. That's when the shift really begins. At first, it's small things. They disagree on spending, on what's necessary and what isn't. Eloise isn't used to thinking in terms of limits. Theo is. Then it becomes less about money and more about expectations. Eloise imagined a life where she could think freely, speak freely, live on her own terms. But this life comes with constraints too, just different ones. She can't move through society the way she used to. She can't openly engage in same intellectual spaces, and without her family's protection, even simple things carry risk. Theo sees it differently. For him, this is normal life. Work, responsibility, survival. He doesn't see it as restrictive. He sees it as reality. That difference starts to matter. Their conversations change. They are shorter, more practical, sometimes tense. Things go unsaid. Eloise doesn't complain directly, but she starts noticing everything: the lack of space, the constant worry, the way every decision now depends on money. And Theo notices the change in her too. He can tell she's struggling even if she doesn't say it. That creates another kind of pressure. Because now it's not about just surviving, it's about whether this choice was the right one. By this point, the excitement is gone. What's left is something more complicated. Eloise isn't ready to regret her decision. She still believes in why she left. She still doesn't want the life she escaped from. But for the first time, she starts to question what comes next. Because this life, this version of freedom, is harder than she expected. And it's not clear how long they can keep going like this. That's the turning point. Not a dramatic argument, not a sudden collapse, just quiet realization. This situation isn't stable, and something will have to change. Back at Bridgerton House, the search hasn't stopped. The family is trying to keep things contained, but they need answers. A footman finally steps forward. At first, he hesitates, but under pressure, he admits something important. He had on more than one occasion taken Miss Eloise to a print shop in another part of town. That changes everything. Now the family has a direction. They don't jump to conclusions immediately, but they begin to investigate. Someone, either a trusted servant or a man acting on Anthony's instructions, is sent to the area to ask questions. They find the print shop. At first, nothing seems unusual, it's just a workplace, but when they start questioning about Eloise, the reactions shift. The workers recognize the description. Yes, she had been there more than once. Now the situation becomes serious. They keep asking questions, not aggressively but carefully. They don't want to draw attention, and that's when another detail comes out. Eloise hadn't just visited the shop, she had been speaking regularly with one of the assistants, a young man named Theo. Now the focus narrows. They ask about him, and the answer is what changes suspicion into something much stronger. Theo hasn't been coming to work, not for days. That's when the realization starts to form. Eloise is missing, Theo is missing, they were known to be meeting. At first, it's just a possibility, then it becomes harder to ignore. By the time this information reaches the Bridgerton family, the conclusion doesn't need to be said out loud, but everyone understands it. And once a possibility like that exists, it doesn't stay contained. The information spreads, not officially, not announced, but it moves the way gossip always does. Through servants, through acquaintances, through people who know how to connect details. At first, the quiet speculation, then names start getting attached. And now the story becomes something else entirely, because this isn't just about a missing young woman anymore, it's about who she might be with, and in Regency society that changes everything. A woman running away is already a scandal, but running away with a man, especially someone far below her social class, turns it into something much worse. Now people aren't just concerned, they are judging. The Bridgerton name starts taking damage. Invitations slow down, conversations shift. When family members enter a room, people begin to watch them differently. And the consequences spread beyond Eloise. Her siblings are affected, their reputations, their futures, their potential marriages, all of it becomes uncertain. Because society doesn't separate individuals from their families. At the same time, the Bridgertons try to contain the situation. They avoid public statements, they limit appearances, they focus on finding Eloise before the story becomes uncontrollable. But they're already running out of time because the story is no longer private, it's becoming the center of attention. And while all of them is happening in London, Eloise and Theo are starting to feel the pressure from a different direction. They don't know every detail, but they know enough. They know she's being searched for. They know people will start asking questions, and they know they can't stay hidden forever. That creates tension between them, not just emotional, but practical. Every decision now matters more: where they go, who they speak to, how long they stay in one place. The sense of being watched even when no one is there starts to build. And then it happens. Someone finds them, not by accident but by following the trail. Eloise doesn't expect it, but she's been found. And now there's no avoiding it. She's given a choice, not in words at first, but it's clear. She can return home, face her family, face society, face the scandal and whatever comes with it. Or she can stay with Theo and accept what that means fully. No return, no protection, no place in the world she came from. Eloise stands there, caught between two lives, one she ran from and one she chose, and now she has to decide. By this point, there is no easy out. She is confronted not just by one person but by the full weight of her family's influence. The message is clear: she must return, not because they can physically force her in some dramatic sense, but because the pressure is overwhelming. Anthony makes it clear what the situation has become. This is no longer about embarrassment, it's about survival. If she stays, the scandal continues to grow. If she stays with Theo, it does not just ruin her place in society, it creates consequences for Theo as well, and that is the part that changes everything because Eloise understands how power works. She knows her family's name carries influence. She knows the upper classes can make life difficult for someone like Theo without ever appearing openly cruel. A man of his position has no protection against that kind of pressure. If the scandal continues, he could lose work, lose opportunities, become known as the man who took a Bridgerton daughter away from her family. And in their world, that label would follow him. For the first time, Eloise sees the situation from a distance. If she stays, she is not just choosing herself, she is also placing Theo in danger. That realization forces the decision. So she agrees to return. Not because she suddenly accepts society's rules, not because she regrets loving him, but because living with him was one choice and protecting him now becomes another. The departure is quiet. There is no dramatic goodbye, no promises, no declarations, because by this point both of them understand what is happening. This is not a pause, it's an ending. Theo stays where he is, Eloise leaves, and neither of them says what they are both thinking, because saying it out loud would not change anything. When Eloise returns to Bridgerton House, she is welcomed back, but not in the same way she once was. There is relief, of course, but relief does not erase what happened. The atmosphere in the house has changed. Her family speaks to her carefully, as if every conversation has to be managed. There is concern but also distance. Trust has been damaged, not destroyed but altered, and Eloise feels that immediately. She is back in the same rooms, the same routines, the same household, but no longer feels like home in the way it once did. She understands something now that she did not before. Her future has narrowed. Whatever independence she once hoped for is now under greater scrutiny. Every decision she makes will be watched more closely, every step will be measured, and in society's eyes, she will never fully return to being who she was before. That becomes clear in the weeks that follow. The Bridgerton family remains respected, but something has shifted. Invitations begin to slow, not all at once, not in any obvious way, but enough to notice. Events they would normally be included in somehow pass without a formal invitation. Neighbors remain polite but distant. Conversations become shorter, more careful. The tone does not openly reject them. That would be too direct. Instead, they do what high society does the best: they create space. The Bridgertons are still discussed, still visible, still part of the social world, but they are no longer embraced in the same way. And the Bridgerton family tries to control the damage as much as possible, but it's out of control now. Eventually, there would be new scandals in the town and people's attention would shift. This incident of Eloise would be softened over time but never forgotten. As for Theo, he remains in his own world, safe, unharmed, but entirely separate from Eloise's life. There is no reunion, no hidden letters, no secret meetings. And that's how one decision could have changed everything for Eloise Bridgerton, her future, her family, and the life she thought she wanted. So, what do you think? Did Eloise make the right decision? Or should she have stayed with Theo no matter the cost? Let me know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.